that should be better. All right, so today is a really special day. This is our second to last class, and the last class we'll just be doing, it'll be a pretty short class. We'll just do like a fun Kahoot for vocab, and that'll be it. So maybe, I don't know, 30 minutes. It's not going to be that long. We're not going to do reading. So this is officially our last class of reading. And so that's going to be pretty exciting. I pulled one of my favorite passages from one of my favorite books that I've read, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. And I'd really, I think it'd be pretty cool and pretty awesome if you guys read it later on. It's a pretty good book. Um, so yeah, so this is going to be our second to last class. We have one more class on Tuesday next week, and on that Tuesday, we're just going to be doing a fun Kahoot. I'll post like a little quick instruction on how to get to Kahoot and just how to get there. And we'll see how that goes. You might need to do a second device, or use a second device, or be able to split screen on your computer, iPad, or whatever you're doing. That should be okay. I'll also be reading the questions out loud, so that way, if you can't, then you're not totally at a disadvantage. But yeah, I'll talk about more of that later on in Google Classroom, and I'll post like a thing or a quick directions. But for right now, let's get started with our reading. It's a pretty fun one. Let me share my screen. So the passage I pulled today is The Outsiders, and this is by Essie Hinton. It's a really good novel. I'd highly recommend you guys read this. And then I'll talk a little bit more about further reading about this later on, because I really think it's a good book. Cool. So start, give you guys some reading. Here you go. And we'll come back in a couple minutes. I'll let you guys know. That should be around enough time. I'm going to give you guys 30 seconds, if you guys need a little bit more time, maybe a minute more. And also, if you need to take notes or annotate or however you read best, go for it. Just do it on your screen. So just a tad more time. Cool. Let's get started. First of all, actually, we'll talk about it later. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Cool. So content-wise, I'm sure as you guys kind of deterred or kind of got like from just reading it, uh, that this passage or this kind of like book, it's not the normal style of text that you're probably used to, or it's not the normal style of language. There's it's a little bit rougher than like what we read yesterday or last week with Emily Dickinson and the Hope poem. I'm sure you guys can definitely like feel that when reading it. So let's just start with some constant questions or kind of basic questions. So who are greasers? And you can raise your hands using the participants button. Also, I won't call on you if you don't have an actual name. So I would really recommend switching your name if you want to talk. All right. Amu. Sorry, didn't mean to lower your hand. If you want to read, I'll get you.
Sorry, was I called on? For
No, I don't think so. Just
okay.
All right. Here. Starting in Ryan. On you.
So the greasers are just like the people on the east side and the ones that are poorer.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Nice. Sorry, I didn't mean to unmute you again. You can just stay muted. Amu, if you want to add on to that.
You were asking for what the greasers were?
Yeah.
Oh, what did the last person say?
So Ryan just said, they're the kids that live on the east side and they're poor.
Oh. Most of the greasers had long hair and they dressed in blue jeans and t-shirts, and they left their shirt tails out.
Okay, nice. I think we got pretty much that kind of like idea of who greasers are, or we got like an idea of like, the kind of basic understanding of what greasers are. And I think that's good enough for right now, just for character wise. All right, so then how are they different from the socks? And you guys kind of answered this, but there's more to go into. So the socks or the socials, how are they different? You can raise your hands again. Yeah. All right. Evan. Unmute you again if you want to. If not, okay. Kirog.
So the socks are the richer and more social kids, whereas the greasers are kind of the odd ones out, and they're all the poor people, and they're from the east side.
Okay, nice. So we get kind of like a territory kind of like difference, right? The Sox live on the west side while the Greasers live on the east side, and so this kind of gives us like kind of there's more conflict or there's more things of conflict happening. Someone wants to add on to like any differences they noticed, pass on what we said. Edward.
So the greasers are like super poor, and they get bullied by the socks, but they're actually more misbehaving than the socks.
Okay. So I might argue about them more disbehaving, but we can talk about that later. I can bring up a pretty quick question that I might ask later. So nice job bringing us to that. Anything else you guys want to add on? I'll call on a couple more people. Sophie.
No. Okay. So I think it's like the socks are the socialers are like really rich. The greasers are poor, and like the person says that it's like the greasers are wilder than the socks, and it says the richer people jump the East Side boys in rec houses now, in rec houses and throw beer blasts for kicks. I'm not very sure what beer blast for kicks means.
Yeah, so don't worry about that. It's not too important. We can talk about that a little bit later. Okay, so I'm seeing a couple questions. What do they mean by jumped? Jumped is kind of getting beaten up. So like if there were a kid to jump, like a group of, teenagers to jump like a 6-year-old kid, they'd pretty much all like kind of just beat them up. I'm seeing does jump mean bullied? Kind of, in a way, but it's more of a direct, just kind of like getting beat up, or beating someone up. I'm seeing a lot of hands, so we can go through a little bit more about the differences between them. Let's go to Jingwei.
Okay, so the social people, they're a bit crazy because they say, I reckon we're wilder too or something.
Nice. So you get a sense that like they're both kind of a wild like group and wild like personalities. I think that's nice. I think we have most of it covered. So if you have any lingering thoughts or something, you can put them in chat and I'll try to get to them. But besides that, we'll move on. So yeah, so basically from here, right? And so I pulled this from the kind of first chapter, in the towards the beginning of it. So someone who's just starting to read this probably won't have any more information than you would. So just from right now, we know that there are greasers and there are socks. There's kind of like a rivalry between them, both from territory, like probably the East Side kids, or the socks stay more on the East Side, while the greasers stay more on the West Side, and the greasers stay more on the East Side. Like kind of they have their own spaces. So yeah, so those two like things about being, the differences of being rich / poor, or being, West Side versus East Side, or just like thinking that one is superior than the other. That's kind of like a room, or kind of a spot for friction or for conflict to grow between the two. And so if you guys decide to read the book, or as you guys look later on in the passage or something, those are kind of like key things, like when you start to feel a little bit of tension, or you start to feel a little bit of like, oh, there's going to be a fight happening soon, or there's going to be a conflict yelling, or like there's going to be maybe like a beating coming soon. You want to look at these kind of signs, and these might show like more tension, and you want to look at these signs of tension, and they can kind of help you predict what's happening or see what's coming, anticipate it. So do you guys know, I don't think it really says who the first person is, but this is in first person, right? So I'm just going to tell you, the first person, his name is Ponyboy, or that's kind of the nickname he has throughout the book. It's not his actual name, but everyone calls him Ponyboy, and that's how he goes. So when I say Ponyboy as the character, that's who I'm referring to, just the I in this, or the first person. Yeah, so I'll put it in the chat just in case it gets lost or anything. It's kind of a little bit weird, but it's nice. Ponyboy. All right, so based on that, who takes care of Ponyboy and Soda Pop? And you can also answer who is Soda Pop as well within that. Let's go to Ryan.
Okay, so so I think since it says that Derry would kill me if I got in trouble with the police, I just feeling that like Derry's who takes care of them because like
Yeah. I think you got it. I don't know if you cut out or stopped talking. But I'll meet you again. I heard what most of you said, or what I heard what you said. So you said dairy, and you cited this piece of evidence that give me a sec, sorry. So you cited this piece of evidence. Dairy would kill me if I got in trouble with the police, right? Stroda showing there's an authoritative figure in that in his life. Let's go to Mary.
His friends, they like look out for each other.
Mhm. Nice. So I heard his friends would look out for each other, and I'm assuming you mean Soda Pop and Dairy, right? Yeah, I'm seeing you shake your head yes. So that leads me to another question. Who is, or what's the relation between Dairy and Soda Pop? If you guys can really figure that out, there's some clues here. And, you know, if you want to argue their friends, give some clues, or, you know, they might be something else. Let's go to Keurig. I saw you lower your hand. Don't worry about it. We're answering that question. So who is Dairy and Soda Pop? Cool. Let's go to Elena.
From the text, I can probably conclude that Dairy and Soda are probably really close, if not related. And wait, what was the second part of the question again?
Just basically, what's the relationship to them? So, like, you know, who they be to Ponyboy.
I think Dairy probably cares a lot about Soda and Ponyboy in his like own way. But like he's also really protective probably because it says Dairy would kill me if I got into trouble with the police.
Yeah. Nice. All right. I'm gonna go to one more person, and then I'll show you guys, you know, the answer and kind of the evidence to support it. Let's go to Evan.
I think like Dairy is pretty protective, and I think Dairy and Soda Pop and Ponyboy are all in the Greasers group, and I think that Dairy is very like protective, like he's acting a little like an adult, like caring for its child for its safety.
All right, so I'm gonna go through chat really quickly. So Annie, she says, Dairy is his guardian, Soda Pop is his brother. Dairy and Soda Pop seems like, or Keurig said, Dairy and Soda Pop seems like Ponyboy's family. Someone said, I think Ponyboy and Soda Pop are brothers of Dairy, and Dairy is the oldest brother who watches the others. And then Keurig also said, as they get protective and making sure they don't wound up in trouble. Yeah, so I think someone said it, so basically, Ponyboy is the youngest brother, and then Soda would be the middle brother, and Dairy is the oldest brother. And so one part of evidence that you can get is right here. I'm going to highlight it. Since mom and dad were killed in an auto wreck, the three of us get to stay together only as long as we behave, right? And so that mentions, oh yeah, send your questions to me, Nathan Kwei, not to Alphademic Learning, because I won't be able to see that. Yeah, so since mom and dad were killed in an auto wreck, the three of us get to stay together only as long as we behave. So that gives you a sense that, you know, they share the same mom and dad, and So because of that, you can put them as, related. And I saw, maybe, it might be an uncle, or it might be, Derry might be an uncle, or like a godfather or something. But I think the closest, just from what I got, seeing how close they mean and they look after each other, not that just Derry looks after them, they all kind of stay together. So that's why, from this piece of evidence that you can get that Derry, Soda Pop, and Pony Boy are all brothers. Yeah. Really good job on that. Okay, so we're gonna go through a couple more questions. So would you say greasers or socks are good people? And you can argue that, greasers might be good people, but socks aren't, or socks are good people, but greasers aren't, or none of them are good people, or all of them are good people. So just based on what you see directly from this passage, are socks and greasers good people? All right. Let's go to Sophie.
I think like the greasers are like good people, but they like to like they're really poor. They're good people, but they're poor. But they're like wilder and maybe sometimes kind of rude. And then the socks, I think that's how you say it. They're like really rich and they're taught to be good. So I'm assuming they are good, but there might be some like thieves. I'm not sure about that.
Okay. Correct. One thing I think I saw you mention, which kind of stuck out to me, is that you mentioned that because, or I might be taking this out of context, but you said that because socks are rich, that might make them more good. And so for me, that kind of sticks out to me because that's kind of like a prejudice or something. And I'm not saying that you totally said that. That's just, I kind of put that together because I know that's, might be something that people jump to. And I just want to say, you don't want to just immediately assume because of social status or because of race or something that someone might be better than others when you're pointing out evidence like this. But yeah, besides that, or I don't know if you really said that, but yeah, that's a really good point. Let's go to Chirag. On you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so none of them aren't better than the other. They both have their mistakes, both groups. So the socks, it says in the second paragraph, to quote, not like the socks who jump greasers and wreck houses and throw beer blasts for kicks and get editorials in the paper for being a public disgrace one day and then asset to the society next. So they're not good, but they're not as bad either. And greasers, they steal things, they drive old up cars and hold up gas stations and have a gang fight once in a while. This is quoted from the second paragraph as well. And this is also their mistakes and what their their actions are like. So it depends on like the person, how their opinion reckons with both of these groups' actions, and what's your opinion on who's being better than the other.
Okay. Nice. And then I'm gonna go to Elena, and then I'll go to Chad.
I definitely agree what he just said. Because yeah, they're all the same, to be honest, because they're both doing like these bad things, I guess, or if you were in first person for them, you might not consider them bad, but they all do the same things, and it's probably like a normal thing in the world, that world.
Nice. All right. And then I'm gonna go to chat. I think I see people saying no. I saw one question. What does kill mean? Actually killing or just beating them up? I think you're assuming you mean Derry would kill me if he got in trouble with the police. No, that's more of just like a kind of like a hyperbole. like, oh, mom's gonna kill me if she comes back and finds out I haven't taken out the meat yet or something, right? It's kind of like oh, I'm in trouble. So no, they're not good people. Greasers steal stuff and socks bully the greasers. I think one thing I saw someone have a pretty good message or a kind of interesting argument. Chico said, greasers have a good heart, but have a semi-bad rep. If you want to raise your hand, you can explain that more or kind of give your opinion on that, because I think that's very insightful. Both are great, not good, not bad. Evan says, it never really gives firm evidence that they are bad or not. Not really. But they do steal, so I guess they're not the best. Greasers are like a bar again. Bar group. Okay. Chica, I'll unmute you.
So what I think is that the sots like are bad to the greasers, and they're like rich, which makes them a little bit think that they're better than the greasers. And the sots are they steal things and they do bad things, but you can't say technically that one's better than the other, since they both have they're both gray people.
Nice. I think that leads us to an argument kind of saying, does one bad thing really determine, or does one bad thing make someone a bad person, right? If you do one bad thing, that doesn't necessarily make you the bad person, right? But maybe if you repeatedly do a bad thing and you don't learn or you don't change, that could make you a bad person, right? So I think, especially for a question when you ask, like, are greasers or socks good people, right? What defines as a good person? And so, in a normal English class where we would have a little bit more time, we would maybe go more in depth and see, kind of everyone give their definition of what a good person is, or, what values or what, makes a good person as opposed to a bad person. I think one thing, or let me go and chat really quickly. The greasers may not be, or the socks don't need to steal or do things like that. So that would make them even more worse. They intentionally do that without having to need to do it. I think that Mia said, I think that greasers have reason for stealing because they are poor, but the socks are. But the socks don't need to steal or do things like that. Matthew said, in general, it is hard to tell who is right and who is wrong. For the greasers, they do what they think is correct, but for the socks, they also do what they think is correct. Their morals are different. But as it seems from this paragraph that a greaser is the main character here, we would probably have to think it Ponyboy's view. Yeah, so I think that's a really good comment, or really insightful. So as you can kind of tell just from this entire paragraph, or from this kind of passage or excerpt that I pulled, the book really tackles on issues of whether or not your nature really makes you who you are. So right, or your circumstance really defines you, or how much that can really affect you. So despite being poor, right, how can you really label greasers as a good person, right? Like, would that justify them to do bad things? Or being socks, would that make it even worse because they have the opportunity and they're able to not be bad? They don't have to like wreck houses or jump other people, and yet they still do that. Does that make them worse, right? And so it asks a lot of, like, I think it puts in a lot of like really insightful comments, and I think that's part of the reason why it's such a good book to read, because it takes you through the perspective of Ponyboy, right, who is a greaser, and he kind of sees these things, right? I was planning to get to this question, but unfortunately we're running out of time if we want to do vocab as well. So from this passage, right, it said, I went walking home thinking about the movie and suddenly wishing for company, right? So he watches movies, and later on, or earlier on, it kind of states that Ponyboy is one of the more educated. He really enjoys reading. He really enjoys watching movies. and that's something that he really likes, right? And so I think past that, it'd be a really cool thing, to see Ponyboy's perspective on both the greasers and the socks himself. I'm seeing Alphademic. I can unmute you if you want to. Alphademic Learning. I think your hand is up, or is that just someone with the same name? Okay, we'll move past that. But yeah, so this is a really good book, guys. I would really recommend it. And I think we can do one more question and we can squeeze in vocab really quickly. All right, let me pull this really quickly. Sorry, I'm going to stop my screen sharing really quickly. I'll be back in 1 second. I just want to check. All right, yeah, so I think if you guys need to take a break, go take a break now and we'll get back to vocab soon. Yeah, I think someone was trying to trick me with the Alphademic Learning because I can't see the actual profile, but yeah. So if you guys need a 5-minute break, take it now. Put your questions in chat and I'll try to answer them. And I'll kind of give you guys a question to send you guys off or kind of think about as you guys are leaving. A 5-minute break. All right, let's see. All right, one last thing before we, or like one thing to send you guys off with, or if you need to just like think about it or you want to put in chat, just to challenge yourself or think about. I'll share my screen again. I'll just put it in chat. You should have kind of 3 more minutes of break. For me, it'd be 11:43, but you guys might be in different time zones. I'm in the Western time zone. I'm on California, so. Yeah, I'm in Pacific, sorry. So for anyone who's still here or just wants to like put in chat or anything, here's a question. So what does the last sentence suggest about the rest of the book or what the book may bring up later on? And I'm talking about, I'm not saying that either socks or greasers are better. That's just the way things are. You can put them in chat. I'm not going to be taking hands right now. Just, you either do that way for right now, especially because we're just on a break. So if you have any like responses or, things you want to bring up or questions, just put them in chat or send them to me. I'll get back to you if I can. And then also, you can just think about it in your head. And just give your own like things. maybe it's been happening for so long that they're already used to it. I think that's a really cool, yeah, that's definitely relevant, especially to our time right now. I think that's definitely relevant. So it's that saying like, it's happened for so long and it's been, you know, there's been this precedent that, socks are rich, greasers are poor, and that's just, they can't mix, right? And that's just the way things will always be, perhaps. But that also kind of suggests that maybe in the story of the book that might change. It means there's not really a better group. Every group has their own faults. You can't judge who's better. Yeah, totally. I think you can say, yeah, you definitely can't judge who's better, but you can definitely judge them as person by person. The book would probably end with that they become friends, perhaps. I think it might show us that who is a better group behavior-wise. Okay, maybe, yeah. It means they have a lot of conflict between the two types in the book, whether it's good, as in meeting a girl, etc., or bad, getting into fights. Yeah, totally. I think it definitely brings up like a lot of contrast and friction. That this is normal and something might happen, something that might happen that will cause a sock to become a greaser. Nice prediction. We'll see if that happens, or if you read it, you can see. I'm not going to say if it happens or not. But yeah, I think that's a really powerful line and it can really tell you about, what the future of the book might look like, or give you some, insight. We're going to start right now pretty much, so everyone can come back to your computers, come back to your desks, whatever you're using your Zoom on. Let's get started with vocab. All right, so sub, and we're getting started right now. And then at the end of class, I might go through a little bit more, but yeah. So sub means under. So subtle is kind of like a slight yet precise, like movement. So like a subtle taste, a subtle thing. So it's kind of like a underappreciated, under like appreciated tone or something. It's kind of like you get the idea of it being less, but not insignificant. So other words that use subject, like you're under someone's rule. This table is subject to fall. Subvert. I'm saying subway. Yeah, that would work. Submarine. That might also work. So hypo, suck, and suff. They would also mean under, but you also want to be able to find out. You want to find your own words, and when you find those words, you want to be able to make that link, like I mentioned in previous classes. Subdivision, yeah. Nice. All right. So here, super would mean excess, and so that's kind of the opposite. So sub and super, they're kind of opposites. So superb, that means excellent, right? Too much of something, or too much good, or really good something, right? Too much okay, which makes it excellent. If that makes sense. So other words that use super, superfluous, supernatural, superficial. Those are really good words. Those are definitely use the thing super. So like superfluous, that's having too much of something, right? I have a superfluous amount of marbles. Supernatural, that's an excess of like natural, like it's not normal anymore, it's too much. Don't worry, if you go back to other slides, I'll go back at the very end and we'll do like we'll go through them all so we can write them down. So if you miss something, don't worry about it. Superman, maybe actually, because it's like Superman is better than humans. They're not better, but like, more than humans. Hyper intelligent, yeah. So super, hyper, and sur, they all mean excess. So yeah, I'm seeing a lot of Supermans in chat. I'm just gonna say yes, because I can see that actually being pulling through. Nice. All right. So fur is carry and bring. So transfer would be to carry or bring something from one place to another, right? So other words with fur would be reefer, prefer, and suffer. And so those might be a little bit of a stretch. I wanted to see how far I could really go with this, and see if you guys can maybe provide arguments for why these would work. But yeah, these would kind of these would work. Something suffer, that be bring pain, definitely nice. Or to be, I mean, you're suffering, right? You're carrying a lot of pain. And so this is kind of like a quick exercise challenge to challenge you guys. These all have like a connection, and I'm challenging you guys to maybe find that connection between them. So prefer, and suffer. We got suffer down already, but nice. All right, so other words that mean carry and bring, or other roots. So jack, jur, jest, lat, and port. Might have to find them. So portable, I think that would work. Airport, I also think that would work. I think one thing, when I think of fur, I immediately think of aquifer, and that's using two words actually. So aqua, we learned last time, was water, and a fur would be to carry, and an aquifer was like a huge pipeline or kind of like thing that carried water in the old days. Cool. So let's go on to the next one. By is to. I'm sure you guys have heard this before, but so combine, combine should be a verb. Let me change that really quickly, sorry. Boom. It's a verb. Combination would be a noun though. All right, yeah, so combine puts two or more things together, right? So other words with bilingual, speaking two languages. Bisect is to take apart, like, and then bicycle, something with two wheels, right? Bicolor, yeah. Binomial, yeah. Yeah, so I'm seeing a lot of good things happening. Also like binoculars, they're kind of like two lenses. Bite, I wouldn't put that. I don't think bite would work just because, you know, there's not really a connection to two. Bi-monthly, yeah, that'd work. Biology, that wouldn't work because the actual root in biology would be bio, and bio means life, and we went through that a couple weeks ago, and so there's that wouldn't work for that one. And then there's no other really roots that mean two. So if you see by, you know, that just immediately you should pop up in your brain. Oh, it might have to do something with two somethings. All right, and it should be the last one. Oh no, there wasn't. We went through 4. All right. Yeah, so let's go through them again, just so you guys can take down your notes and you guys can get everything you need to. All right. Also, I want to mention one thing for the Kahoot next week. So we're going to be doing a Kahoot next week and no reading. This is just kind of like a fun way to test how much you guys learned. You know, kind of like it's almost like a competition. So that should be a lot of fun. And I'll send some instructions out on Google Classroom about how to get to Kahoot or how to play Kahoot for those of you who haven't played. But I've in the poll I put out on Google Classroom, it looks like a lot of you have played, so that's good. All right, so sub is under, hypo, suck, and suff. Again, you know, make flashcards or write these down, or you know, make a Quizlet or something. I'll post the slides on Google Classroom, which would be good. If you need to look at them again, but yeah, so this should be a lot of fun. Sub, hypo, suck, and suff. Submission, yeah, I think that'd work. Super is excess. Also the word super itself, right? Super is kind of like it's a really good job. It's it's unbelievably high, right? So super would be, you can kind of think of that as like excess or too much or good. It doesn't necessarily have to be good, just too much of something or a lot of something. Hyper and sur. So super, hype, and sur all mean kind of like an excess. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of good things in chat as well. Meaning if you can superannuated, I think means outdated. Yeah, I totally see that, like too much of a date, I guess. Or not at present time. I can see that connection totally. I'm not sure if the actual word means dated though, so I haven't seen that. Cool. Transfer, so fur is carry and bring, so it's jack, jur, jest, lat, port. There's a lot of these all mean root and that are all mean carry and bring, and I know that's a lot of roots, but hopefully you guys can get through them, especially because the next one doesn't have any roots at all. So, and finally, bi is two, bilingual, bisect, bicycle, all examples, and just bi would work. Would sulfur work? Sulfur wouldn't work because sulfur is a element. It's not an actual, it's just a molecule. You can have like a sulfur molecule or something. It's an atom. So sulfur, or some, no, it is an atom. Sorry, it's not a, yeah, sorry, my brain's a little bit off right now, but yeah, so bi is two. And so with that, that should be the end of our class for vocab. I'm going to stop screen sharing, but any questions I'll happily answer in the last kind of 5 minutes. If you guys have any questions. Again, before you guys leave and I dismiss you guys, couple things. One, look out for Google Classroom if you haven't played Kahoot before, and I'll provide instructions. Two, I really recommend you guys reading The Outsiders. It's a really good book. I really think you should do it. If you were to do it, try to get a hard copy. Whether through Amazon or your local library, or maybe ordering a book or something. Yeah, and I'll put it on Google Classroom as well. And then if it isn't, there might be some PDFs or some places you can get it online. I don't particularly know, but yeah, it's a really good book. I would highly recommend to guys. And then also, if you guys can't really get to the first maybe 2 chapters or it doesn't really seem appealing, I would put it down and wait until you're a little bit older and then past that, pick it up again. Because it's a really good book. But if you don't, you aren't at the reading level or you aren't the skill to really get all you can from it, I definitely think you should wait and just let it marinate a little bit. Cool. You guys can all go. See you guys. Jonathan said, what grade is the book meant for? Me personally, I read the book in 7th grade. But I think you guys are a pretty stellar group, so if you need to, you could definitely do it. Are there curse words in the book? I searched it up online and it said it did. I don't know, to my knowledge, there might be. So yeah, that might be a problem for you. Yeah, I'd say definitely wait until you're in 5th grade or something, or maybe up at least 4th grade, but 4th, 5th, and anything up would be a good, adequate level to read this book. I think it's a really good book, but definitely wait until you're a little bit older. All right, see you guys. I'm gonna head out. Actually, I need to do one more thing quickly.